Hello, everyone. It's Fred Staub and Les Jackson. We are here for another action-packed hour of automotive news. We've got some great stories here. One on a new Hyundai that's coming out, the iconic 5, which got some great news this week. 300-mile range from the EPA. And we're going to ask, is 300 the new 200? Apparently, it is. So we're going to be seeing a lot more range very soon from many electric cars. But 300 miles
And I think,
is a good number.
yeah, people are beginning to think, hey, range isn't such a big deal.
Well, interesting you say that because Mary Bauer of GM is saying that 300 will be just the floor for them, and 500
Probably.
will be more the norm. So that's just right up there with internal combustion cars. And then we're going to take a look at a new study that says sticking with that older car could be dangerous. We'll tell you about that. And there's a 2022 crossover that costs less than the 2021 model, and now comes with all-wheel drive standard. So we're always looking out for you.
That is, somehow I have a feeling the dealers will figure out how to get more money.
Yeah, it was an interesting article on Automotive News where one dealer wrote in and said, we deserve to raise prices at this time. And a lot of people, including other automotive dealers, informed them that you're not well liked. You're about as well liked as politicians. So doing that, that you might get the money if someone needs the vehicle, but they'll never come back to you. And
the other thing this will precipitate is a faster embracement of online shopping.
Oh, absolutely. That's coming anyway. So
it is.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll talk about that and more on Cruise Control. We'll be right back.
This is Cruise Control. Your on-air automotive magazine with co-hosts Fred Staub and Les Jackson. Everything you need to know about new and used cars. Industry news. We'll fix or repair your car on the air. Fasten your seatbelts and let us take the wheel. Now, your ride is about to begin. Because you're on Cruise Control. Cruise Control. Cruise Control.
That's right. You are on Cruise Control. Welcome, everyone. It's Fred Staub and Les Jackson, two car guys ready to talk about cars, crossovers, trucks, all kinds of things over the next hour. We're glad you're here. I'm always glad you're here, Les, to chat about things.
It's always fun. We've been doing it for so many years. You'd think we'd get used to it, but it's always surprise, pleasant surprises.
Yep. Well, we're going to start this hour with a question. Is 300 the new 200? Well, we're talking about range when it comes to electric vehicles. The Hyundai Iconic or Ionic, I've never liked those names, 5 EV crossover officially gets 300 miles of range from the EPA. It was rated this week. And Mary Barra of GM says, hey, 300 is just the baseline. Their vehicles are going to get 400, 500, even more range. So range anxiety may be an old term very soon, Les.
Oh, yeah. And Audi prepares a big send-off to one of its performance models.
Yep, we'll tell you about that.
Tell you which one.
Yep. And also, we'll tell you about a 2022 model crossover. It costs less than the same 2021 model and now comes with all-wheel drive standard. So if you're out looking for a vehicle, that could be a good one.
Well, that's right. And we're going to talk tech because we always do. And this time it's Ford is building parts from plastic that was once floating in the ocean. Now,
there's no shortage of
off
that.
to those guys.
Yeah, absolutely, because there's no shortage of that whatsoever.
Man, there sure isn't.
We'll talk about that. And a new study that says sticking with your older car could be dangerous. It highlights one segment of driver. We'll talk about that and pluses and minuses, all that and more when we get rolling on this edition of Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. Like I say, we're glad you're here, and we got plenty to get started with. 300-mile range, Les. Would that be good for you?
It'd be plenty. It wasn't more than just a few years ago that we were talking 150 was pretty good.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Mazda brought out a vehicle just a couple of months ago and only has 100 miles of range. And they got lambasted for that. That kind of reminds me of the compliance cars, like the Fiat 500e was 80 miles of range. And it just was there to make a rule. So, hey, when we come back, though, we're going to talk about this new Hyundai with 300 miles of electric range and what's going on when the new Silverado E will show up, too. So stay tuned to Cruise Control.
Oh, yes.
We'll be right back.
Okay.
Cruise Control.
Hey, welcome back to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. I'm Les. He's Fred. And we thought we'd start off the day. You're going to be hearing a lot about electric cars from forever.
We did a lot of stories this year on electric cars.
And this is Hyundai's Ioniq, and ending in a Q, so it would almost be Ioniq.
Yeah. Never liked the name so much, I have to say.
It's an awkward name. But anyway, that's what it is. And the EPA just rated its electric version, comes in 3 versions, hybrid, plug-in hybrid, and battery. 300-mile range, which is, boy, oh boy, that's impressive.
Yeah, that's very usable. We talk about this a lot. What's the typical gas-powered car have in range? Is it 300 miles? Is it 400 miles?
Well, I think the typical gas-powered car has a somewhere between 300 and 400 range on the tank.
Okay. And it's funny, we never thought about that. I don't know what the range of my car is, how many miles I can go on it. I don't even know how many gallons of fuel. I think, what is it, around 12, 14 gallons in a smaller car? I don't know.
And of course, they want to put as little gallon capacity as they can get away with, because gas weighs
a lot.
6 pounds a gallon, and that's weight that it has to carry around.
Now, if you opt for the dual motor all-wheel drive model, the range goes down to 256, which is not terrible either.
No, not at all.
But Jose Munoz, who's president and CEO of Hyundai North America, Hyundai Motor America, I should say, once you get behind the steering wheel, they are going to be shocked by the range, power, comfort, interior space, and advanced technology. It's true.
I would agree.
How many?
You and I drive and have been driving battery electrics for quite a while, and you have to drive one to just appreciate how good these things are.
Yeah. How often does this happen? I get asked this many times by people that haven't driven it. They're like, "Yeah, but that's slow." And I tell them, no, it's a lot faster, actually.
Yeah. I usually tell them, well, unless you've got a Corvette or a Hellcat, I'm going to beat you at the stoplight.
Yeah, exactly. And it's instant power. There's no shifting. It's. I think I always tell people, if you haven't driven one, you should drive one, and then you'll understand. Yeah, and there's going to be the number of models is going to explode in the next next
well,
year
as
or so.
as I said last week, we have 38 makes and models right now that you can buy in the U.S. and by this time next year it'll be 48 or 50.
Yeah, exactly. The key thing is, will they be able to build them with chip shortages and supply chain issues? And I mean, I think just kind of looking over things, you and I have talked about so many new vehicles, and I was setting up a schedule for some new vehicles to review, do the at-the-wheel reviews that we do on Cruise Control. And I made a list, and I thought they announced a lot of these vehicles a year plus ago. They should certainly be in the fleet, but they're not here yet because they haven't been built because of the chip shortage. The biggest story
they want to be
of 2021 for us, right?
It's huge. Well, it's just like everything else right now in our lives. There's a supply shortage,
right?
Delivery shortage.
Yeah. Well, over at GM, a lot of people have been asking, when will the Silverado EV show up? And there's some talk about that because Mary Barra, who's, of course, the CEO of GM, will give the keynote speech in January at the CES show. Of course, Consumer Electronics Show. They don't even say that anymore because there's so many other things going on.
Yeah.
So she said, she was quoted this week as saying, we believe EV life starts at 300 miles of range, not 200, not 250. We've been there and done that. She's talking about the Bolt. So the Ultium packs, that's the battery packs that they're going to use, will deliver 300, 350, 400, 450 plus miles of range. Interesting. And we'll talk a little bit about when the Silverado E might show up. Tell you a little bit more about what she said. So stay tuned to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. I'm Fred Staub. He is Les Jackson. Check us out at cruisecontrolradio.com. We'll be right back.
Cruise Control.
And welcome back to Cruise Control Radio, your on-air automotive magazine. I'm Fred Staub. He is Les Jackson. We are taking you on a ride around the automotive industry. Of course, a lot going on. It has been a year of many reveals, some of which got revealed and we haven't seen them yet. Vehicles.
Look at this cool product that we hope to get enough parts to build eventually.
Yeah, great. I'd like to buy one.
Yeah.
But you can't.
You can't.
Yeah, it's been that type of year. But there are some questions about, we were talking, of course, about electric vehicles. There are two huge hits out there. We're going to talk about them a little later. Of course, Ford F-150 Lightning and, of course, the Hummer EUV, both of which have a lot of hand raisers and a lot of people putting down money. By the way, the Lightning, they closed the order banks on it for 2022.
Yeah. Well,
and they're not going to build them to the summer, I think.
Thank you for your money.
They're taking a page out of Elon Musk's book. Yeah. So when will the Silverado EV arrive? That was the question. And Doug Parks, who is GM's Executive Vice President of Global Product Development, was asked this at a Deutsche Bank Auto Tech conference this week. And he said, you'll see in 2022, of course, the Hummer SUV will launch. Of course, they've got, I think, over 60,000 orders for that. The Cadillac Lyriq will launch. We know that they're far along in the development of that. And then very soon you'll see the Silverado E, the Sierra, and a couple of other vehicles we're going to talk about at the CES show. And those are going to launch in 2023. So
let's remember 2022 is only 20 days away.
That's true. So basically the answer was you'll see it in early 2023. Now, see it and be able to buy it is another thing. We're just seeing that there's a big demand in the case of certain vehicles, and manufacturers just don't have the demand, the capability to build these things and get them out to the dealers. But that said, there's plenty more of cool electric vehicles and other vehicles coming up. One, though, we're going to say goodbye to, and that is the Audi TT RS. And they have some plans to say goodbye to it, Audi. It's not going away in Europe and other places, just in the U.S., and they have 5 Audi heritage colors that will help celebrate this 5-cylinder engine as it goes away. For a limited number, there's just going to be 50 of these vehicles, 10 of each color, and these things are going to be in Alpine White, Helios Blue, Stone Gray, Tizian Red, and Malachetti, I think it said, green. The leather and contrast stitching.
You know what? I just realized that's the word malachite. I've never seen malachite.
Yes.
I've never seen it written before.
Ah, interesting.
Oh.
But each one of these TTRS Heritage Editions include special stitching, 174 mile per hour top speed limiter, Alcantara steering wheel with a 12 o'clock marker in leather, an Alcantara shift lever, and alu optic exterior elements, including mirror housings. It has some aluminum trim on it. That's what it means.
That's right.
Remember when the TT came out? I thought it was one of the most claustrophobic cars ever made.
It was, and that was like 20 some years ago.
Yeah.
And it sort of made a splash, and then it sort of got forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
And then it took on, they were sort of buying segments, various types of people who were buying them, and it would catch on with one group, and then the next group would come along. And, I don't think they've sold huge numbers.
No.
But it's still, it's got a following.
And I think basically what's happening is the 5-cylinder engine is going away. Certainly, there's probably no need to have 5 cylinders when you can probably do even better with 4. And it will be available in other international markets for some time, as the release says.
Right. Some time.
Yeah. So if you want one of those, I'm sure you'll pay a lot, won't you?
They are rather pricey. They always were.
Yeah, like if you look at the numbers. Now, this is just the regular number for it. Of course, if you go to a dealer, you might find even higher prices.
Good luck.
The 2022 Audi TT RS, normal non-heritage version, is $73,200. And the Audi TT RS Heritage Edition is $81,450.
Wow.
Not including the $1,045 destination charge.
And not including the added dealer markup.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of that going on.
Well, especially if they're only going to make 50.
Yeah.
I can tell you right now, the markup will be 25,000.
At least there are some dealers that are going well beyond that. So
yeah,
if you're buying a vehicle, I think, really, you should avoid paying over MSRP.
I think, and I don't know, you may disagree with me, but I think right now, if you have to buy something, I think the smartest and most economical thing to do is lease something for the shortest time period in a monthly payment that doesn't break you, and just do that until things settle out.
Yeah. Well, I always look at different vehicles and pricing and that, and used vehicles, quality used vehicles. I swear all of them have gone up $10,000.
Oh, absolutely.
From a year ago, let's say.
Yeah.
So it's time to not rush out and buy something. And frankly, there's no year-end sales or anything like that.
No,
there's
none
nothing.
of that.
There's nothing around. So you don't have to go and rush out and buy something. And it's one of the biggest things I've told people. They're like, oh, I always buy a new car, and you might want to wait until things shake out.
Yep. It's just a bad time, money-wise, to be buying a car.
Yeah,
of
exactly.
No matter what it is or how old it is.
It is, yeah. But when we come back, we're going to tell you about one that might be a good deal if you can get it for the sticker price or even under. It is a 2022 model that has a lot of improvements, and it now comes standard with all-wheel drive, and the price is actually $600 less than the old model. So talk about that. That's a good deal anyway. You slice it, and if the dealer sells you it for that, I mean, hey Les, I got a question for you before the break. If you were buying a new vehicle now, let's say you had to buy a new vehicle, would you still try to deal, or are all deals off and the floor?
I'd try. I would try to deal.
Yeah.
I don't know how far it would get me. But
Yeah. At least not go over MSRP. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Try to do that. But when we come back, we're going to tell you about this vehicle, and we'll just tease it like that. I think it's a very popular vehicle and got a lot of improvements for 2022.
That's right.
And certainly, here's one you'd want to wait for the 2022 and not buy a 2021. So all that coming up on Cruise Control. Check us out at cruisecontrolradio.com. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. All that and more. We'll be back.
Cruise Control.
Welcome back to Cruise Control. Les and Fred here. We are talking about 2022, a few models and pricing. 2022 being just 3 weeks away.
Huh, that's crazy, isn't it?
just scared you, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
But anyway, the Buick Encore, which has been significantly refreshed for 2022. New engine, more power, all kinds of goodies, and it's cheaper.
Yeah, and it's pretty good. It's the same price, actually, since it has not gone up at all, which is interesting. And the thing is, of course, they have the Encore GX, which is a little bit bigger, and there's some thinking that this might start going away, the Buick Encore. It starts at $25,795, which is pretty good. The only change is the addition of an exterior temperature sensor. So a big change there, yeah. But we do have one vehicle that is priced less and now comes with standard all-wheel drive, and that is the 2022 Mazda Cx-5. The entry-level all-wheel drive, now they're all all-wheel drive, is actually $645 less than the 2021 model.
That's very rare. We don't talk about that too often.
No. And so the CX-5 2.5S Select is $29,125. That's $385 less. The CX-5 2.5S Preferred is $570 less, coming in at $30,385.
Yeah.
So, and now it depending on what you get, now they've changed some things around. There's a Carbon Edition, is only $150 more. That's not bad. There's a new premium CX-5 2.5S Premium at $33,535. That's a new trim level. And then the others go up a little bit more, and it tops out at $39,875 for the Turbo Signature. So they've added some trim models here.
That's, these are big jumps. That's $12,000 over the entry.
I know. I would look more for that one that's $645 less than last year, and comes with standard all-wheel drive. Remember, all-wheel drive adds at least $2,000 to the price typically, doesn't it?
That's true. That's true. Now they did raise the destination fee.
Something we've seen a lot of from manufacturers. Yeah. It's just kind of another spot to put the pricing in, isn't it?
It seems to be. Because it doesn't cost that to deliver these anywhere in the country.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what's new for 2022? New fascia, wider lower intake. Grille has textured pattern rather than the current mesh. There's a thicker chrome frame. There is, a better tuned automatic transmission, more responsive. Inside, the seats have been shaped for greater stability. So little tweaks here and there, but the addition of all-wheel drive makes the CX-5 one to watch. And I'm sure even the entry-level model, which is $27,125, would be a good buy. The only thing I'm not a big fan of on Mazda is their infotainment systems. I find them kind of hard to use and not intuitive.
It's a little tedious.
Yeah.
Compared to everyone else.
Yeah, compared to everyone else. And they've never really been the leader in the infotainment world. So,
no.
But other than that, it's a great vehicle, great styling, great colors, too. Great color tinted.
Really nice colors. Yeah.
And you can pay extra for them. They have some new premium colors, Snowflake White. Snowflake White Pearl Mica $395. Machine
which
gray
is like
metallic.
a pearl.
This is my favorite, the red crystal metallic, $595.
Yeah, I like that color.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites, and you see a lot of them in that color. It's got the tinted clear coat. That's why it looks so deep and cool. And that's what gives it that. And it has to go to a special paint process. That's why it's more. That's another trend we've seen, frankly, in 2021. Premium paint prices.
See
right?
it everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, and it used to be like, no, here's your choices of paint, and there
That's
was
right.
there was no up.
Choose your color.
Choose your
and
color.
There was no discussion.
Yeah. Let's talk a little tech, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
How about this thing? This is from Ford. Ford is using ocean plastic. So this is the plastic. There's seas of this stuff floating. It's water bottles, who knows what else, floating. And they have ships go around and kind of scoop it up. And now they're using these materials to make a little plastic piece that holds a wiring loom. And it is the first time that they have used this type of material, this type of waste material, to make this stuff. I think it's great.
I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, they're going to clear up 13 million metric tons of plastic per year. Well, I should say 13 million metric tons of plastic per year enters the ocean. They can't clean it all up. That would be nice if they could.
About 1,000 square mile section of ocean.
Wow. And these
just
horrible. They just float through, and in a giant sea of plastic. They say you can be in the middle of the ocean and there's this sea of plastic, of bottles and who knows what else. So
I only make nasty comments to two kinds of people.
Okay.
I usually, if somebody's doing something that I think is objectionable, I don't say anything. I just shake my head. But two kinds of people. One, people that are leaving grocery carts in the parking lot. I always confront them.
Okay.
And the other is people littering. And I always say, you bought it and you carried it here from your house. Why can't you carry it back home and throw it out?
Yeah.
And they invariably, say something insulting to me. I don't care.
Well,
but that has always bothered me. I'm amazed that in the last many decades, I haven't been beaten up.
I would say watch
that.
yourself lately, because people are a little bit more inclined to beat people up and do crazy things. But this is the first time this has been used, this type of material to make something. They also use discarded nylon fishing nets, which is a big problem. They dry these things in salt water. They make small pellets out of it, and then, of course, it's made into this wire clip. Not the first time Ford has done this. Of course, if you remember, they've made like soy-based foam for their seats. They've used recycled denim for insulation in cars.
And plastic bottles for floor mats and things.
Yeah, yes.
That's just, hey, hats off.
Yeah, hats off to them. It's really good because the stuff is just going to float around forever. It just never dissolves unless you really do a process on it. And this is what happens, So great use of it. I hope they do more of that. As I say, they scoop it up with these big ships that have sort of a mouth on them, and just they kind of sail into the stream of this stuff and scoop it up and then kind of harvest it. So,
do you think there's money in for the companies that have these ships to?
I don't think so. I think it probably costs more, but it's a good thing to do.
I would think.
Yeah. I think it probably costs more, but it's a good thing to do. So we're glad to highlight it for Ford, and it's our Talking Tech segment here on Cruise Control, the show you're listening to, your on-air automotive magazine. I'm Fred Staub. He is Les Jackson, always looking for great stories and interesting stories that that, well, get you thinking about maybe your next vehicle.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing we have to highlight is a good thing that Mini's doing. They are trying to get animals adopted, and it's always an excuse to show animals here, so we like doing that. Mini and USA and Best Friends Animal Society are partnering this week with no-cost adoptions at Best Friends locations around the country, and I think that's a great thing for Mini to be doing. They want to get them all adopted, which is a great thing. So hats off to Mini, and if you're looking for a pup, check out Best Friends locations in Atlanta,
That's
Houston, Los Angeles, New York, Northwest Arkansas, Salt Lake City, and Kanab, Utah. So, hey, we will be right back with Cruise Control. Stay tuned.
And of course,
Cruise control.
Hey, it is cruise control. We are still cruising. I'm not sure we're under control, but it doesn't matter because we definitely have the stories. And some people object to this sort of thing, but I don't. And that's Toyota is accepting blemished parts.
Yeah, well, it depends what the part is. I mean, if it's a broken windshield.
Sure. Well, see, that's not blemished.
Well,
but maybe like a scuff on the dashboard.
Or maybe it's, how about a part that goes under the dashboard that you'd never see? I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Who cares? Yeah.
Well, and you say, why are they doing that? What, are they just lowering standards? No, it's the fact that people can't get parts, so they would be very picky in the past. And if a part had a little bit of casting flash on it or something like that, they would say, nope, we want a better part. But now you can't get the part, so instead, so they can keep the production line going, they are accepting these parts, right?
Exactly. They've told their suppliers that scratches and blemishes are okay, but they can't affect performance or certainly the longevity. It can't be something like that.
You can't have an engine mount with a crack through it and say, well, it will hold up for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. Well, this transmission gear has rough teeth on it, but it'll still turn.
It will work. It will work fine for the first 10,000 miles.
It'll wear off all of that. I mean, obviously they have quality control, but if something is scuffed or dented and it doesn't really show up, I mean, that's just fine. Don't throw it away.
Right, exactly. And don't say, well, you know what, we can't build this vehicle because of it. So, yeah, it's interesting news. I don't think you'll see any difference in the vehicles or anything noticeable. Do you think they'll keep doing this going forward?
I don't think so. And the reason is because, especially the Japanese companies, they're committed to zero defects.
Mm-hmm.
Because they Deming, what was Deming's first name? Back about 30 years ago, the great industrial consultant, and he said, if you accept like a 3% error rate, you'll always get a 3% error rate.
You'll never get better.
You'll never get better. You can only get better if you accept zero errors.
Wow.
And that's what the Japanese did. And that's what brought them into such dominance.
Yeah. Well, let's switch gears here and talk about a study from the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, the IIHS. Of course, these are the people that kind of set the standards for crash testing vehicles. They have an interesting study that said older people typically hang on to their cars because they're not driving them much, and they don't want to spend the money. They're retired. Maybe they're on a pension or Social Security, and they don't want to spend the money. And frankly, they use the car just to go shopping or go down the street. Makes sense, right? Don't want to spend big money, especially these days, on it. But the IIH study found that cars that are older were significantly at higher risks for injury when they get into a crash. And this has accelerated since there have been so many developments in safety over the last, let's say, 10 years of cars and vehicles. And older drivers are far more likely to be driving sedans and hatchbacks, they said, which, of course, are going up against SUVs, which are popular with younger buyers. So, you see, that's the problem with SUVs. if you say, okay, well, now I want an SUV, everyone gets an SUV, so everyone, I mean, it's like, does it keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger till we all drive monster trucks?
It seems to be heading that way, which is much to our disappointment. But it's escalating, and we own sedans. We're rather competent drivers, so we're not intimidated. But but certainly, did they have to do a study that proved that older cars are less safe than new ones?
Just here's the number here. If older drivers retired into safer cars, it could save lives, the IIHS says. They could reduce by 3% for drivers 70 and older and 5% for drivers 80 and older if they drove vehicles with the same safety profile as their middle-aged counterparts. Problem is, though, they're expensive, and they probably don't have 30, 40 grand laying around to pay for a car that goes, to the grocery store and church and, the doctor's appointments, right?
Yeah, when you're driving 1,000 miles a year, it's pretty tough to justify a $35,000 or $40,000 car.
Right, exactly.
So what do you do? Yeah.
No, I agree. I certainly agree. And certainly now, bears repeating, even if you say, well, I'll get a 2 or 3 year old, gigantic truck with a push bumper but used. But, these things are crazy prices. There's crazy prices. I just don't think there's a way around it, unless
no.
I mean, the only way you could do it would be to buy, something like a Nissan Versa or Toyota Corolla or whatever, and then you're buying a smaller vehicle. I mean, it will have updated safety, but, it's still going against the battering rams of the giant SUVs, right?
Well, yeah. And on top of all that, we're in an era of rapidly increasing fatality rates on the highways. Bad combination.
Yeah, bad combination. I think people are driving way, way, way over their
recklessly.
Recklessly, yeah. Interesting. There's also another study that they call it the traffic jam mystery. Our roads are more crowded, but it's not due to work because cities are not crowded at all. This is coming from INRIX that does a lot of the number crunching and that. And they studied different places in Europe, but this holds true for the U.S. here. Global traffic remains below pre-COVID levels, but the highways are very crowded, but they don't know where they're going. They're not going to work. The cities are not crowded, but the highways are crowded. So what do you make of that?
We see it around D.C. here.
Yeah.
I guess people are just out on errands.
I don't know. Trips to U.S. downtown areas were 22% below pre-pandemic levels and down as much as 49% in San Francisco, where many tech workers will work remotely. So, yet the roads are crowded. So, who knows? Who knows where they're all going? Fabulous trips? Just driving around? Who knows? You have no answer.
Can't even guess.
And that's okay.
I'm always asking, where are these people going on the road?
Yeah. Hey, we appreciate you listening to Cruise Control. Don't forget to check us out at cruisecontrolradio.com. You can find out about our Facebook page, our Twitter feed, the YouTube page, and more. Time for me to say I'm Fred Staub.
And I'm Les Jackson.
We're going to see you down the road.
Bye.